going on, guys? Welcome to the next part of this tutorial, and in this part we are going to create him a weapon. And like I said in the first video, we are not going crazy with this. There's no point. It's not going to help anybody to spend hours creating a really crazy weapon or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the worst gun that we've all ever seen. Okay? It's actually my goal to make it the worst thing we've ever seen. No, it's not. Done. Just kidding. I won't go that cheesy. The one thing I do want to have on it is the ability to have a grip on there. Probably need these to be bigger and whatnot. Let's do this. Double click them to get the loops, by the way. And now we'll extrude. And we'll bridge that. And we'll control backspace that guy. So there we have a trigger. Let's get auto grid on. Okay, we want to align in just the X and not the axis. Okay, let's kill that and that. Make that 6. Let's isolate here. Like I said, I just want to have this something that I know he's holding and that we are solid on. So one of the things I want to do here, clone to element. Let's extrude that by the direction here. Okay, and then I'm actually going to detach this as an element and hide unselected. Okay, so we're going to take this, turn that into verts, get rid of the bottom verts, move that down. Okay, we're going to take this, we're going to inset it like so, something like that. And then what we're going to do is bridge this really quick, just so we have geometry to bridge. And then we can bridge that, and then we can get rid of that. We can take this and make that planar in the Y, and we can do the same thing here. And probably in the X as well, just do it by the face. X, X. Okay. Hit 4, unhide all. Now we have like the ability for him to like pump a shotgun or something. That's, like I said, very, very cheesy. Important though that we have these kinds of controls. Just going to copy this C position here and move this down. Turn that into verts, otherwise it won't let me do it. There we go. Okay, let's do like something like that. So this is kind of looking like a shotgun as is, unless we do something like this. This is the best gun that you have ever seen. I admit it. I must admit it. I kind of want to do this, but I don't think that's going to do me any good to do that. We'll just keep it like this for now. I'm not going to turbo smooth it or anything. Okay, I'm not even going to texture it. Just want something he can hold. Okay, so now that we've got a gun, just want to move that in, convert, hit 4, get rid of that back face, take this guy and attach that. Okay, we'll take this. Okay, we'll shrink that down for a trigger. And there we go, that's it. So that's what we're going to do. And now the one thing that I do want to do is I want to take the pivot and I want to move it right there where the finger goes, assuming that I wanted to spin this gun like a cowboy. That's how I always set it up. Don't always want to do that. And now what I want to do is I want to align that to this control object. I could have done the bone too. Pivot, pivot, pivot to pivot. Okay. Alright. So we want to get it in his hands correctly, so we need to go 90 that way. And we need to go 90 this way. Maybe a little bit more than 90. Let's make sure we're on local here. And we just want to move it into his hands somewhere that he can grab it. Again, this isn't going to line up. This isn't going to be great. This isn't production. This is learning. I feel like it needs to be a little bit that way. And his palm looks angled correctly. Okay, so what we're going to do now is that we've done that. What I'm going to do temporarily is take the pivot, affect it only, and I'm going to align it to his hand bone, including everything. Pivot to pivot, XYZ for position, XYZ for orientation. Okay, we want that to line up exactly. So now, if I rotate this, and where the fuck is rotate? View. I was on it. Okay, so if I do that, now I can reset this. And in order to get the gun exactly in his hands, it's actually got to be angled like that. Because his hands are all weird. Because if I align this now to his hands, goddamn Max, Alt A, okay, it goes right back in his hands perfectly. Alright, so now we need to zero it out. And it's unfortunate that it does this kind of thing, but you can't blame anybody, you know? Like, it's just the way that the bone aligns everything. If we want the gun to align with his hand perfectly, this is what we have to do. Because that is how it aligns. So this is going to be a slight pain in the ass because you can see locally we're not doing so good. We're not lined up with our weapon. So there's nothing that we can use to do this unless we take a new cylinder and we use that. So that can be moved anywhere, but what I can do now is I can create the bones for it. Now whenever I do a weapon, this is personal preference, I do not use bones, I use pyramids, and there's a very simple reason for that. Bones, when you create bones, 2, 2, 3. Okay, when I do this, if I try to move this bone, all I end up doing is rotating it around its parent. Same thing up here. Okay, so I'm essentially rotating its parent. Okay, I can't move this away from or towards anything. And on this particular weapon, we need sliding bones. So what we're going to do instead of this is we're going to create pyramids for the bones, like so. And when we do them, we're going to align them like this. So we'll make that out of just a copy. We're going to align this here. We'll only do the Z. We won't do axis. And we're going to do our minimum to his maximum. Okay? And that essentially gets us lined up, and then we can link it together. But the cool thing now is that it's linked, but I can still move it away from and towards, and it will still behave just fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align this guy to him, pivot to pivot, everything, including the axes. Okay, and now I can put this basically in the weapon. Now I could have put the bones in the weapon before I rotated it all weird, and it probably would have helped. But in this case, it's really not that big of a deal. So now I have the ability to have a sliding bone right here. Let's isolate, and I'll just take 90 degrees like that, one more bone, and we'll make that the trigger bone. So this one just wants to be quite a bit smaller. And again, I know it's squirrely, but don't worry, it'll still rotate just fine. That's what's important. So what is the rotation of this guy? 170? I think that should be 180. There we go. Alright, so we'll name this one B_trigger. We'll name this one B_anim. Okay, and we'll name this one B_slide. I mean, whatever it's called. Okay, and these two guys are going to get linked to here. So now when we move this, those go along, and we can still slide this back and forth. Okay, we also need, since this guy's at 0, 0, 0, we need another. This is going to be B_weapon root. Okay, now this guy is going to need to be all zeroed out in everything. Okay, because that's our root. If you want to, you can make it a little bit smaller, so you can kind of distinguish it. You can change its color, so you can say, hey, I know this is the root. You know, and the others are pink. You can, in fact, you cannot rotate this. Okay, remember, when you are on view, the rotate and the move tools should both read 0, 0, 0 down here. Okay? Doesn't matter which tool you're on, it should read that. If you don't like the way that this is pointing straight up, you can just affect the object only and point that forward. That doesn't affect its actual orientation, it just affects the visual mesh. And notice it's 0, 0 straight down the line here. Okay? So then what we do is we link this guy, and now we're just going to assign any generic material to it. And we're going to assign the skin modifier. Skin, bones, add. Let's make sure we're on select children, and we'll just click weapon root, and boom. Okay, anim is the bone we want to work with right now. Edit envelopes. We get edit envelopes. I got to be on not. This is really frustrating. It's kind of a bug. If you're on the link tool and then go into edit envelopes, there's like nothing you can do with anything. So you have to be off of it, then you can edit the envelopes. Well, I got to be on vertices too. Okay, so on the anim here, let's just pop open our weight tool, because it's a little bit easier just to hit these numbers. So 100% of the animation for the anim bone is going to the entire weapon. Okay, our next bone that we're going to mess with is going to be the slide, and now we want to go by element so that we can pick that entire piece, and with the slide selected we just hit 1. Okay, and now the trigger bone, we just want that piece, and we hit 1 there. Now that we come out of here, we should effectively see the animation working. Okay, we got to be on local here. Oops. And now that will slide up and down perfectly. This should rotate the trigger. Again, gotta go back to local. Perfectly fine. Okay, we can animate the entire gun in his hand, and we have a root object that will stick his gun to his hand. Okay, if we take that root object and align it to this, not that one, to the hand bone, you can see that that puts the weapon directly in his hands. Okay, so what we need to do is we can do this kind of a two ways. Control page down, we'll select all the children, and then we just add the weapon, and now we can do this here. Okay, that's a max file. We'll go exports. Okay, and we'll call this UE4 guy rifle. Shitty. And we hit OK. Alright, now our first test will be very simple. Okay, we'll bring it in. We want it to be mesh skeletal. We need to uncheck import meshes in the bone hierarchy. The reason is because we used meshes as our bone hierarchy. Those will come in as pyramids and they'll show up visually. We don't want that. We want them to be bones. Okay, then everything else I think is okay. Import just fine. Now let's edit this guy's blueprint and go to the viewport, and he is here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a new skeletal mesh, UE4 rifle shitey, and what we want to do is we want to link it to the mesh, and then we want to hit right here, and we can go hand R, where the hell that is, there it is, hand R, and as you can see it's all the way out here. We just need to reset everything, and there he goes. Okay, so including the animation and everything, he now holds the gun in his normal pose. We can compile that, pull that here. If we play that, okay, there it is in his hands, all lined up, not a problem. We don't have any way to aim, we don't have any other way to do pretty much anything with it right now, but we do have a gun, and it's very awesome. It's a very good gun. Very good gun indeed. So that'll be this part. That was modeling the weapon, just getting it in. Like I said, no real point of making it awesome for this. Once you do have a really good weapon, the process will actually remain exactly the same for everything. If this was a really super high detailed shotgun or something that he was holding, we wouldn't have any problems with it. So there's that part. Let's just look at the mesh again. Remember, this does suck. Don't get me wrong. The fact that, you know, it comes out all kind of squirrely like this is a direct effect of the way that the bone is associated. I don't know if you guys can tell, but the bone actually doesn't follow the hands like that. It follows the palm, which is actually, and it, you know, to be honest with you, it doesn't even really follow the palm. Actually, here, if we do this, we can make that Alt X. So as you can see here, it's not really following the palm correctly. It's going towards where the middle finger was. Okay, let's just put that on shaded. That should become easier to see. Okay, so that's why our gun is all squirrely, because our hand bone is squirrely. So if your hand bone is perfectly clean and straight on your character, your weapons will for the most part end up being clean and straight. I actually, you know, in my Project Rats, my game, I have 1 or 2 weapons that are in fact like this. they are tilted and weird in order to fit them in like a certain AI character's hands or something, and it's irritating. But anyways, that's all for this part. This is HipHoss signing off. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. In the next one, we are going to get some basic animations done.